Once upon a time, there were millions of businesses struggling. Every day they wasted time, effort, and money on repetitive tasks that added no value. One day, the Better Automation podcast by PROCESIO came to show them the way. Because of this, these businesses save time, reduce costs, innovate, and make much better decisions. Because of that, these businesses grow, prosper, and use human creativity to change this world. Hello, my name is Aziz, and I'm your host at Better Automation Podcast by PROCESIO, where I interview the world's top experts and share their best ideas on how to improve automation in your business, processes, and life. My guest today, and it's an honor really, is Paul Miners. Paul is a productivity blogger with over 100,000 visitors every month and a virtual consultant that helps entrepreneurs and businesses become more effective with their time, optimize their workflows, and get more done. He is the host at the Paul Miner podcast, as well as an Asana Pipedrive and Zapier consultant with over 400 clients he has helped. Paul, how are you today?
Hey, Aziz, I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm really glad to have you here. I already feel that we'll have a great conversation. And to begin with the past, because I like to separate things into past, present, and future, what's your story of either falling in love with efficiency or getting into automation?
Yeah, well, the efficiency started, really, I would take it back to when I was at university studying, or college, as it's called in the States. And so, my experience anyway was you get out of school, you're put into university, into college, where you're very much on your own. Unlike school, there's nobody telling you what to do or when to be at class. There's no one chasing you to get assignments in. It's up to you. You're really accountable. You've got to make sure you're attending classes and getting things done. And so, and the thing that really I thought was very useful at the start of the semester is the lecturers would say, here are all the important dates for the semester. This is when the exams are. This is when all your assignments are due. This is when the tests are happening. They just tell you straight away, this is when everything is going to happen. And so it was really useful because I could then work backwards from those dates to plan my time. So in preparing essays, what I would do is I would use my calendar to plan what I needed to do, because I had all my lectures and my classes programmed into my calendar. And so I thought, let me just take this a step further. Let me just put in my assignments, when I need to work on things. And so this was my introduction to time blocking, putting appointments on your calendar for the work that you need to do. And that was really where my interest in productivity and using my time more efficiently really started to develop, was at university. And I started my business a few years later in 2015, and I decided to help people with productivity and productivity tools just because it's a topic that I'm interested in, I'm passionate about, and I feel like I'm pretty good at. And then the automation, gosh, it's hard to say when automation actually started. I guess one of my first experiences with automation was probably an app like IFTTT, If This Then That, this automation app on the iPhone. An app that a lot of people probably still use today. I actually don't use it anymore, but that was probably my first introduction to automation, where you could design a simple workflow where you've got sort of a trigger, a trigger being like some event, something that happens, and then you've got the actions, something that then the workflow then performs these actions. And then, so that was probably the first automation tool I really played with. And that really opened my eyes to, using technology to save time and to do work for you. And then when I was working in sales at a mortgage business, we discovered Zapier. And that was really where, the automation we could take things to that next level. IFTTT is quite simple, really. It's quite sort of simple, basic workflows, or at least it was back then. And with Zapier, for those that don't know, although I'm sure most of your listeners are familiar with Zapier, it's this great automation tool that connects the APIs of different internet services together. And so it's a way of like coding your own workflows without having to know how to code. And so I started going down the rabbit hole on Zapier just for my own benefit. Like, let me create some Zaps that help me to post updates to Slack or do this. And so I just started using it to scratch my own itch and automate a few simple things that I needed to do. And then it was a few years later when my business had started, I started offering automation and Zapier support as a service to my clients, because a lot of people were coming to me saying, look, I'm using this tool like Pipedrive or Asana. I really wish it could do this, but it can't. And I would say, well, actually, we could do something like that with Zapier. So now we use it a lot. We use it every single day, not just in my business. Zapier is the backbone for a lot of the things that we do. But also for our clients, Zapier is a great tool that we can use to extend, take their tech stack and tie things together and really take their tools to that next level. And of course, save a lot of time in the process.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. I will start with one of them. You mentioned during university that the professors will tell you when things are due, and then you can work backwards in order to organize that. A lot of businesses don't have that because if it's a startup or an entrepreneur, there aren't real deadlines in it. I guess the deadline is running out of money. Or maybe they're going after like any KPIs. They don't really have clarity on the vision of where they need to be by when and all that. And therefore, automation might be done haphazardly without a plan for it. So when people come to you, do you more focus on them telling you, okay, we wish Asana could do X, Y, Z, and you make it happen? Or is there part of your process is clarifying exactly what are they doing, and therefore which workflows really are adding value, and therefore thinking about automation based on actual things that add value rather than what might be useless? Is this like something that you spend a lot of time thinking about? How do people deal with it? Are people open to it when they come to you?
Yeah, we do a bit of both. So, our service is we help people to set up and use tools like Asana and Pipedrive really effectively. So Asana is a project management tool. Pipedrive is a sales CRM. So the first thing, before we even look at automation, the first thing we help people with is let's just set up the tool correctly. Let's customize it. Let's set up your projects. And of course, part of setting it up involves understanding the client's business. So talking about their workflows and saying, well, how do you do your work? Why do you do it that way? Have you thought about doing it like this? And so that's sort of step one is understanding the business, understanding how their process works, and then translating that into Asana or Pipedrive. Then there's obviously some training involved. A team needs to understand how to use the tool. That's very important. So automation is usually like step 3. Once you've sort of mastered the basics, the tool is up and running, then let's look at, okay, how can we take this to the next level? What opportunities are there to automate parts of the process and save time? Not just for the sake of it, but like what are the genuine opportunities we can use? So for a good example with a CRM would be, I get inquiries every day via Calendly. People book on my website. They book a call with me through Calendly. This is true for a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses have like a lead capture form or a contact form on their website. So you have some kind of input, and then using Zapier, you can connect that to Pipedrive so that when somebody, for instance, books that call with me through Calendly, I can have that create a new contact, a new deal in my CRM, and maybe even add a subscriber to my email marketing system. So all these little manual things that normally you would do manually, I can have Zapier do that for me. And that's a, data entry is a really common type of automation that we do, because if you have to input data into 2 or 3 different places, that's just wasting unnecessary time. But that's that's sort of a breakdown of our processes. Yeah, we work with customers to set up their tools correctly, to provide that training. Automation is sort of a bit more advanced. It usually comes a bit further on, a bit further down the line.
Thank you. And usually, at what stage are businesses coming to you with their needs for automation or to work with you, as well as what are the pain points normally they come up with that I'm sure after you do your process, you'll find that actually, yes, that's a pain point, but there is another one or a deeper one that's more important. So in the market currently, what kinds of businesses or at what stage are your most common ideal clients, and what are their common pain points that they come for?
We work with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses who are experiencing rapid growth. And so, I mean, we get people approaching us at all different stages of their business. Some are new, some are much more mature, but often we're getting businesses that are a couple of years old, maybe 2 or 3 years into their business. They're growing quickly, and that's the pain point, is their growth. It's a good problem. So they say, people tell me all the time, we're growing really quickly, we've hired a lot of new people. Now, we need to use automation to scale our business and to streamline our workflows and our process because we're growing so fast and we expect to grow more this year. We need to be able to handle double the amount of work, or we're going to onboard 50 new employees this year, and we need a system for organizing them. So that's usually one of the most common pain points we hear, is people needing automation and better systems, but to help them handle their growth. Because I think what happens to a lot of businesses is they don't think about automation early on, and then they start growing quickly, and then they go, now we need better systems, we need automation, we need better tools to handle our growth, because we've created this artificial sort of limit on how much we can do. I think your systems and your tools and how they work together, the automation, can limit how much work you can handle. I run a pretty small business. I'm the business owner. I have one full-time expert who works with me using Zapier, and then I have a couple of contractors. And we do over $1 million. Last year we just did over $1 million with like 2 full-time people. And some contractors. So I think one of the reasons we're able to handle that level of work is because we have good systems in place, because we have good automation. So my advice often to clients is, or to business owners, people listening to this podcast, for example, is think about automation earlier than you think you need it. Because otherwise you get down the road with your business and realize, oh man, we don't have good systems, we don't have good tools, now we're growing too quickly and we need to catch up. So to avoid that pain point, I think people need to be thinking about automation much sooner.
I love what you're saying. That's actually very important. It's about being strategic and proactive rather than reactive. Right now, you're focusing on Zapier, you're focusing on Asana, you're focusing on those 3 tools that are essential for you. Is there anything missing that you believe in the marketplace that they should improve, or that the marketplace needs but it's not met right now, that you wish those tools could handle?
That's a really good question. I can't think of anything. Not to say that there isn't. I mean, I'm sure there's good opportunities out there. I use a couple of other good automation tools. I use Hazel on the Mac for automating documents and files and folders. I use an app called Keyboard Maestro, another Mac app, to automate different tasks on my computer, and Alfred as well. So a couple of good Mac apps. So there's so many tools out there already, and they're always getting better as well. I don't know, maybe in the future, I mean, I see this no code automation trend continuing. So obviously the tools themselves will get better. That's obvious. In terms of what's missing though, I really don't know. I wish I had an answer, because then I could try and make the tool and make some money that way. So I'm sure there's an opportunity, but I don't know what it is.
Thank you. Yes, you're very correct. It's like the $1 million question or the $10 million question. And since you've been involved with so many projects and you're keeping your team small, so you probably are on top of all of them, aware of the impact. the changes, the transformations. Is there any project that was so unique that it stands out to you, or one where the difference and the impact was so big and significant that you think, wow, our work truly changed this company and their day-to-day operation forever? Can you share such a story?
I'd say the best success stories we've had, without naming names, is just a few of our long-term retainer clients. We work with some clients on a project basis. They might come to us with a list of, here are some things we want to do. Here's some processes we'd like to automate. And sometimes, it's funny, sometimes people come to us with really vague sort of project descriptions. They just say, we want to streamline our sales process. We want to automate as much as possible. And sort of when you dig into that and say, well, what do you mean? Like what steps, or what are the pain points right now? What are you spending time on? Sometimes people don't have the answers to those questions. They have to spend a bit more time thinking about, well, what is it that I want to automate? They just hear these words, automation, streamline, and it's like, yeah, I want to automate my sales process. And so those projects are always a bit more difficult. You have to probe and work a bit harder to find out what those opportunities are. I find it's often best when we work with a client to start with something small. Let's just do something simple and easy and get something up and running, just to experiment working with each other and to get, almost pick some of that low-hanging fruit, rather than trying to do too much at once. But the projects or the clients that we've worked with that are most successful are the ones we've worked with for the long term, where we've done that. We've done a couple of little things. We've automated a little bit here, a little bit there. Asana, Pipedrive, Jotform, Google Sheets. We're looking at all the different tools they have, and we've built on things incrementally. And so it's funny. We've had a few clients now we've worked with for a few years, and then we get to this point where they realize, wow, like, you've completely reinvented our business. Our systems are completely changed now, and the automation is saving us a massive amount of time. So we find those are the most successful engagements, is where we're making slow, incremental progress gradually over time. I guess maybe the best story I can have, and this is from one of my long-term clients, is we had automated so much, and I was working with a girl on their team who was sort of doing a lot of admin and processes in their company, and she turned around and said, I'm not going to have a job. I don't know what to do now because you've automated everything. So we automated her out of her job in a good way, because then she could focus on other things. She could spend time on other tasks that require more critical thinking. So that was obviously a really good thing. But that was maybe just the funniest story we've had, is when people turn around and say, you've replaced this full-time job. We don't need that person anymore, or we can get them working on other things. And that's a great outcome, because it means that we're really making an impact. We're really saving people time.
Thank you. And that makes me curious about your own business. Without automation, how many people would you need in order to make the same amount of revenue per year in your perspective?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. Probably at least a couple, maybe at least one or two more people, possibly, to handle. I'd probably need like a full-time sort of project manager, maybe someone doing more admin, or like a business operations manager, something like that. So it's funny when people sort of look at a tool like Zapier. I mean, I pay $50 a month for Zapier, and some people go, "Oh, wow, that's quite a lot for Zapier." And I'm like, I would happily pay $500 a month, because it saves me so much time. I get so much value from it. The cost is it's great value for me, just because of how much time it saves. Yeah, but I would say maybe another two people, I think, maybe.
Thank you. And since you value saving time, and I know you're fascinated with productivity, you as a person, what is important for you about being productive? What value does it add to your life? Is that time saved, spent, I don't know, in nature or with loved ones or something like that? Or like the curse of most entrepreneurs, they save time here just to spend more time working? Or how is your personal relationship with the value that automation brings by saving you time and effort?
Yeah, great question. For me, productivity is a tool, obviously, to perform better in my business, to get more out of my business, to grow my business. Productivity is important, but it's a tool for getting more out of life as well. So it's a tool to use my time more effectively. You know, I'm not a religious person, so if you ask me, like, what's the meaning of life? You know, obviously there's lots of different ways to answer that question. If there is a meaning of life, I think it's to use your time well, you know, to enjoy your time that we have on this planet. And so for me, if you can be more productive, because what is productivity? Productivity is about being effective. It's about being efficient with your time. So it's what you're doing and how you're doing it. So whether that's me working or whether that's me in my personal life, I want to use my time well and I want to get the most out of my time. So in terms of what I do, like as I've grown my business, yeah, I'd say in the first few years, I did put more time. As I've freed up my time, I've put more time into growing my business. Now, and especially since building the team out a little bit and having a few contractors, it really has freed up my time a little bit more. So now I enjoy, I mean, I work from home, so I can spend some time with my wife during the week. We're expecting another baby at the moment, so it's just good to be around to support her, which is really important. But also I can put time into things that I enjoy. Yesterday I went to the golf range at 2 p.m. You know, I finished up my work for the day. I'm not going to sit around and fabricate more work that I don't need to do. I went to the golf range and hit some balls. The other week I went surfing on a Wednesday. You know, sort of I often schedule some time during the week to enjoy myself, to enjoy some of the perks of working for yourself. So golf, surfing, and then we have our little boy. We have a 3-year-old. He's at kindy during the day, but you know, sometimes we might pick him up early and go to the playground or go for walks and things. So that's it, spending time with friends, family, but also just doing things that I enjoy as well.
Congratulations on the new baby. Really, it adds joy to your life. And I'm happy for you that you found exactly the thing that adds the most value, that transforms the world through your own work. And like you said, although some people will not be doing those repetitive tasks as jobs, they will be freed up to add their own unique creativity, which is something only them can do and can never be replaced or automated no matter what. You know, Paul, if people want to get in touch with you to learn more about your work, to use your services or check out your blog or anything like that, what are the best ways for them to do so? What are the links? And I will make sure to write some in the description as well.
Yeah, the best place to find me is just my website, paulminers.com. You can see my blog, podcast, and videos and things there. I'm also on YouTube. You can just type my name into YouTube, Paul Miners, or Twitter as well. Those are the places where I'm most active.
Thank you. And for me, here, I really, really value what is happening in the automation space, the human life that is being saved, because it's more valuable than money and anything else. I know you spoke about Zapier. This podcast is for some more modern competitor to it. It's PROCESIO, which is a modern low-code, no-code platform for advanced automation and creating an enterprise-grade backend for your software. It can be on-premise, so it's more secure for those who care about that. Any listener can request to get a free account at procesio.com. The link is in the description, and I hope it saves you hours, not just to enjoy life, but to create those projects you wish to create, to learn how to play the guitar, to learn a new language, to travel, because that makes life really worth it. Thank you, Paul. It was a privilege and honor, and I'm grateful for this conversation.
Thank you, Aziz.